Hey everybody, what's going on? In today's video, I want to show you 5 champions that I think you would not regret investing in, that are going to be good for you for a while, are going to help you progress through a good bit of content, and that I think you can invest some resources in comfortably without worrying about it too much. Before we get started, I want to say congratulations to yesterday's winners. You are now entered in the giveaway for the $100 gift card. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll card up there. You can go check out the details and come back and participate if you would like. Also, if you're new to the game, there's a link in the description for Dragon Champs to play on your preferred platform. Now, the first champ I want to talk about, and the reason that I want to talk about him first is because, one, he's very good. A lot of the orcs I'm noticing are really good in this game, but he's a really good one that I really like. And the reason that I'm going to talk about him first is because if before you're level 15, you use my promo code, which is DJRNG, I'll put it on the screen, and you can do that by going into settings, use promo code, and just typing it in here. In the rewards that you'll get for doing that will be some shards for this guy. So you'll get him, or you'll be closer to powering him up if you've already got him. But that's the reason I'm going to talk about him first, so that I can tell you guys about the promo code, and that will support me a lot in more ways than one. I would appreciate it. But also, he's actually good. I'm really enjoying him, so I'm going to talk about his skills just a little bit right here. His first one, he has a single target hit that will put burning on an enemy. Now, I was having a little bit of trouble finding in-game a list of the buffs and debuffs and exactly what it is they do. I have a general idea because of the other games that I've played, but I like to know exactly what someone does. So I found an image. I'll pop it up on the screen now, and I'll also link to the Imgur link down below so you guys can go check this out and save it for future reference. And if there's a spot in the game to get to these, let me know. I couldn't find the buffs and debuffs in the game, but if you know where they are, let me know in the comments how to get to them. But burning, the hero loses 5% of their health at turn start. That's pretty standard. I expected that to be the case. However, what I did not know is that with someone with a burning debuff takes 10% increased magic damage. So if a fight goes on for a minute, if he hits them with this skill again while they've got burning up, he's going to do bonus damage. So, and of course, as you skill him up, it gets stronger and stronger. So it's actually a pretty good skill that kind of makes itself stronger if the fight goes on for a little bit. So that's really good. Also, quick note, I was really liberal with my usage of these. Save these. Use these intentionally. Don't just use them because they're available to get rid of the red dots on heroes. I did that, and I kind of wish I had not burned through so many of these just upgrading skills to get rid of the notification dot. So just kind of learn to live with that red dot and use these with a little bit more intention than I did. His second skill, he has magic damage to all enemies. So again, anybody that's got a burn on him will take increased damage. And it's got a chance to stun. So now we've got AoE crowd control on this guy. AoE crowd control is generally effective wherever you take it, right? Anytime you can lock down the enemy team or a portion of the enemy team, it's going to make your life a lot easier. So this can be helpful in arena, this can be helpful in campaign, this can be helpful as you're pushing up the tower. Whatever it is you're doing, AoE crowd control is generally pretty handy. So it's a good skill, and as you skill it up, the chance to stun goes up quite a bit. So, and with the last one, it's 20%. So let's see, if it starts at 20, we got 25, 30, 35, 40. That's a 60% chance to stun unless it has already taken into account up here this. I don't know if it adds it in the wording of the skill, but it's a pretty nice chance to stun for an AoE skill once you have him skilled up. So, and one nice thing about this game is you can choose what skills you want to skill up. It's not it's not RNG. His A3 deals 190% magic damage to an enemy. A stunned and burned target will be dealt an additional 60% of magic damage. And again, this gets stronger. So he has a kit that kind of boosts itself. He makes himself stronger. So obviously the fight would need to go on for a little bit, but he does make himself stronger. And if you pair him with someone that has a burn or a stun, and you can get those stacked on someone, he's going to be that much more effective. So it's a really good kit. And to top it all off, he does have a passive ability where he increases potency. Now this was another one I was digging around a little bit to find. Finally, I went into stats, and down here somewhere, potency affects the chance to apply combat effects. So this is basically accuracy. If you're coming from another game, maybe if you're coming from Calibria, it is hit percentage. Generally, it's known as accuracy, but this is his likelihood to proc a skill. So if you don't know what that means, I'll explain it real quick. You see here it says it has a 40% chance to inflict burning. Now, that means it has a 40% chance to proc. Proc stands for Programmed Random Occurrence. If it procs, then you have to roll your potency against their whatever the resistance stat would be in this game, whatever the opposite, tenacity. So in this game, that 40% chance is an opportunity to roll your stat. If you get that opportunity to roll your stat, then it rolls your potency against the enemy's tenacity. If you win the roll, you'll place your debuff. So that's how that works. So him giving himself a potency boost of 15% is pretty handy, right? You can focus on it a little bit less when you're building him, and that leaves room to grow his other stats. So all around, he's a pretty cool hero. And again, you can get some shards for him using my promo code, AoE crowd control, a kit that boosts itself, passive potency. Pretty handy dude, right? Pretty nice to have. So I'm a big fan of him. Now, Darien is another one. You're going to get him early on. Also, something I forgot to mention real quick is you'll notice that heroes have this popularity stat right here, which kind of gives you an idea of how much they're being used by the rest of the players in the game. So more than half the players in the game right now are using this guy for whatever content it is they're doing. I think that's a pretty good measurement of his utility. I think if more than half the people playing are using someone, it means they're probably pretty decent, right? So he's right under the 50% mark, but I still don't think that that's bad. And again, he's going to be easy to rank up. He's going to be easy to build. You get him early on. He's pretty easy to farm shards for, and he's really not bad. So let's talk a little bit about him. He's got an A1 that deals extra damage to orcs. So pretty standard first skill, right? Second skill, he deals physical damage to 3 enemies. So it's not quite a full AoE, but it can be spread around. And he has a 25% chance to give an armor increase to 1 ally for 1 turn. So a little bit of RNG in this skill. You can't necessarily pick who gets it, and it's not guaranteed to get it. But as you skill him up, the chance goes up a little bit, and the number of allies goes up as well. So it can become a pretty decent skill. His third skill, he gains taunt and an armor increase for 2 turns. This is really handy because it kind of inadvertently locks down the enemies. Doesn't fully lock them down like an AoE stun would, but taunting the enemies means they have to hit him with their first skill, and he defense buffs himself so that he can take the hits a little better. And he removes a buff. So then when you get the third skill up, he removes 2 debuffs. And then when you get him to 5, he removes 3 debuffs. So I haven't really seen 3 debuffs stacked on anybody yet. So for all intents and purposes, it's kind of a full cleanse. Obviously, there will be situations where it won't be a full cleanse when it's fully skilled up. But removing 3 debuffs is pretty handy. And pretty nice to have that taunt. You know, you'll see it a lot in Arena. Maybe double tank, double taunt, and some healers to sustain them. Kind of stall-y type comps. You don't really need as much damage when you've got that much lockdown. So he will be decent for that, as well as the rest of the content in the game for a good while. I think maybe eventually, way later down the line, you'll outgrow him, or maybe you'll get shards from someone inadvertently that will replace him. But he's pretty good. And then he does have a passive where he increases his physical armor, and it gets pretty substantial. And then he gets the chance to dodge when he's fully skilled up. Pretty nice. And he's got a leadership ability. Both physical and magic armor of all allies increases by 15%, and skilled up that can get up to quite a beefy little leader skill there too. So good utility, solid tank, has taunt, has everything you need out of a tank, can actually output a decent amount of damage. Not a bad member of most teams that you're going to be putting together early on in the game. So I think Darien's another good candidate. Now, Tromgar's one, I think maybe a little bit harder to come by. But anywhere you can find his shards, if you can justify it, you want to grab them. So like from Arena Shop or Guild Shop or wherever it is, you'll see them pop up. You want to scoop these up as you can, because you'll see this dude's at 96% popularity, which is insanity, right? Basically, everybody that plays the game is using this dude on a very regular basis, with good reason. I'm actually going to go ahead and up his gear real quick. With good reason. He is quite the beast, and he is an orc. Again, the orcs are a very solid faction in this game. Do we call them factions in this game? They're very solid. You could probably focus exclusively on orcs for a while and be fine. There's a lot of really good orcs, but he is definitely. I mean, 96% popularity speaks for itself. So let's talk a little bit about what he's got going on. 140% physical damage, 20% chance to stun. So we've got an A1 stun here. The chance goes up quite a bit with skill ups, right? There's no cooldown, so when everything else is on cooldown, he'll be using this. Skilled up will have a pretty good chance to stun, as well as outputting pretty good damage. These percentages go up quite a bit. So crowd control on the first skill. Now here's where things get interesting. Assumes a defensive stance. Using the ability again switches him to a battle stance. This effect cannot be prevented or removed. So there's no debuff that can stop it from happening, and it can't be stripped off of him, right? This is something that is going to happen when you use this skill. Now, you can come back to this graphic that I shared earlier, and you'll see a defensive stance increases his physical armor, and an offensive stance increases his physical damage. So when he's in the offensive stance, he'll output more. When he's in the defensive stance, he will be able to tank more. And when he changes his stance, he puts taunt up. So he's pretty good about attracting attacks, right? Pulling attacks away from the rest of the team. When he's in a defensive stance, he takes less damage. You can skill him up and make the taunt last longer. You can reduce the cooldown, and then you can give him a counter attack so that if he's in the offensive stance and he taunts, he'll get hit, but then he'll counter attack. So he'll be putting out that extra damage every time someone hits, and he'll be taunted. He'll have taunt up, which means everybody will be hitting him. So he'll have an opportunity to put out a lot more damage there. That counter attack lasts for one more turn. This can get out of hand, right? This is a really cool little skill that he's got, and beyond that, he gains 1 stack of regeneration for 2 turns and removes a debuff. And again, skill ups stack it up. He's very good about self-sustaining, and he does a lot of different things, right? He tanks, he outputs damage, he cleanses himself, he has continuous heal, he's got a stun on the first skill that he's got. He's got a lot going on. Again, there's a reason this dude's popular. And he's got a passive ability beyond what those stances already do, right? When in a defense stance, physical armor increases by 15%. When in battle stance, physical damage increases by 15%. And again, they go up with skill ups. Now, he's already in the stance, which is already increasing. Now, my assumption is that this passive ability is on top of whatever the values are. Now, I will say that this graphic does not list the values. It just says armor increased, damage increased. So I don't know if maybe that this is a passive explaining what those stances do, or if this is on top of the stances. Either way, it's very effective. It can be very aggravating to go against. It's very good either way. If someone knows if it stacks or if that's just explaining the stances, again, please let me know in the comments. I would be interested to know that. And then he has a leadership ability. In both the potency and tenacity of all allied orcs increases by 15%. That's a lot. That's a lot for a leader skill, right? Accuracy and resistance go up in the same movement here. So again, not really hard to see why this dude is at 96%. You can pretty much take him anywhere you want to take him. At least I have so far. And he is never the problem. If a team doesn't work somewhere, if I fail a run, it is not because he's not contributing. This dude is an absolute monster. I would scoop up his shards any opportunity you get. Now, again, I'm limiting this to 5 kind of for the sake of time. There's more than 5 good ones. I'm just going to give you 5 of the ones that I have come to like a lot. Mortha, maybe I should do Hera here instead because she's Pride. But again, maybe just to emphasize what I'm talking about with the orcs here, maybe we'll talk about her. She's at a 44% popularity, which again, barely under the half mark. But I like her a lot. She's a good healer, and she's contributed a lot to my team. So let's talk a little bit about her kit. 30% chance to deal shield piercing damage. Now, I don't think that the graphic says anything about that, but what I would assume is that that's ignoring defense. That would be my assumption. If someone wants to set me straight in the comments, please do. In my experience, that's probably what that means. So we've got a potential for a pretty decent amount of damage here from a first skill. Not bad for someone who's kind of a designated healer. Second skill, heals the targeted ally by 200% of her magic damage, then chains to 2 allies with the lowest health, and heals the first ally by 150% and the second ally by 100% of her magic damage. The percentages scale up quite a bit with skill ups, and it's a pretty good heal, right? she heals whoever you specifically want to heal by the largest amount, and then kind of passively heals whoever the next two in line that need it the most by, you know, less and less. But again, it scales up quite a bit. It's been a pretty clutch heal for me, and she can pump it out pretty regularly. I definitely notice the effect of having her on the team. And then the last skill, that is the last skill, right? Yeah, that's a passive. The last skill, 165% of magic damage to an enemy, gives the ally with the lowest health a shield equal to 165% of her magic damage. So now you get to do damage and give someone a shield kind of in the same motion. Sort of like a heal, basically, right? It's not directly to their HP, but you're adding on top of their HP, which for all intents and purposes is basically a heal. So you're doing damage and healing in the same size. Scales up again quite a bit with skill ups. And then her passive ability increases magic damage by 4% for each living orc in the party. That can add up quite a bit, especially when we talk about having, you know, 2 of the other now 4 that I've talked about on the team. It'll scale up quite a bit. So we've talked about 3 orcs and then Darian, who you're of course getting at the beginning of the game. So for the last one, I want to talk about this guy. This guy is really good. You can see he's at 76% popularity. Freezard is he's really cool. I really dig his skin, actually. I think he's super cool looking. He's also another one that's very useful basically everywhere I've taken him so far. So let's get into what it is that he does and why he's good. 130% of magic damage to an enemy, 30% chance to inflict slow. Slow is always a pretty handy debuff, right? It helps you turn cycle around someone, and it's on his A1, so he's kind of got an opportunity to spread it out a little bit as the fight goes on. Pretty straightforward for that one. His next skill, 130% of magic damage to 3 enemies, a 30% chance to inflict armor decrease. Now this is, again, it's not full AoE, but it has the opportunity to be spread around. And armor decrease is a really handy debuff. For anybody that's newer to these games, defense break, as it's referred to pretty commonly, is one of the more important debuffs that you're going to have, because it's really going to... defense mitigates quite a bit of damage. So if you can break someone's defense and kind of slice through it a bit, you're going to be able to do a lot more damage, which means you get people out of the fight quicker. And obviously, getting everyone out of the fight is the way that you win. So defense break is really handy. And this has an opportunity to spread out defense break a bit. So it's a really nice skill. And he does pretty good damage as it is. So skilled up, obviously, you have a better chance to proc it. And then if he's got the potency, he will land it. But that's very handy. And then we have an AoE skill with a chance to knock back turn meter. Again, any opportunity that you get to turn cycle around your enemies, you want to take. And he gives you that opportunity here, right? AoE turn meter knockback can give your full team another turn if things are kind of set up that way. And the turn meter decrease goes up as you skill him up, which means it becomes pretty significant. And it can be a real problem in a fight. That turn meter knockback can really interfere with someone's plan. So that's really nice. And then he's got a passive ability. Now this is a really cool passive ability. He survives a fatal blow and recovers 10% health. Any effects on him are removed. Can be triggered once per battle. If Snorri is on the battlefield, he receives the same buff. So basically, the first time that Freezer takes a hit that would kill him, instead of dying, he's going to heal by 10% and remove all the debuffs that are on him. So, that's pretty nice, right? It's a lot different than dying. It's basically a hit that would kill him improves him. It gives him health and it cleanses him. So he's got an opportunity to stay in the fight longer, and it's just kind of aggravating, right? If you're trying to target him and get him out of the fight, then the first time you hit him and would kill him, instead he heals and cleanses himself. Now he's still there and he's healed, right? He's healed himself up a bit and skilled up. The heal goes up. So he's pretty nice. Now you can just get him over time in the game, but I believe there's a pack early on in the game that's like $5.49 or something. The packs in this game have been really reasonable, and they catch me a lot with I log in and there's a $3.49 pack that's got way too many character shards and gear and stuff for me to pass up. I basically buy those every time I log in. The packs have been really reasonable in this game, I have to say. And he's in one of them, and I think it's like $5.49, and you can pretty much get him out of the gate and get him rolling quite a bit. So if you are someone who spends in these games and you don't mind spending the money, I would highly recommend that you get that pack early on. Again, he's really nice to have. He's going to kind of push you through content at a little bit of a faster pace. Really handy. 70%, 76% popularity. He's not going to fall off anytime soon. I'm really enjoying him. I'm investing very heavily in him, and he's been really good to me so far. So that's the first 5 that I'll talk about. I may do another one of these where I talk about 5 other champs that I think are really good, that I'm investing heavily in. I've got my eye on some of these that maybe are not quite as popular, that I want to kind of see what I can get done with them. So if you guys like this video, I'll do another 5 heroes that you can invest in sometime in the near future, and we'll get that out for you. But that's going to wrap this one up. So again, I appreciate you guys watching. There is a link in the description if you haven't checked this game out yet, and if you want to throw my promo code in there, again, supports me in many more ways than one, and I would greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions, drop them below. If you want to hop in the Discord and get in touch with us, there's a link to that in the description too. And we are also looking for people for our guild. The guild, we got a handful of people in here, but we definitely want to get these 25 members full. So again, if you're already playing, if you're new to the game, as long as you're active, there's no requirements or anything. We just want to get it in. We want to get a group of people that want to play the game and improve in the game, and we can kind of all grow together. So apply to it. It's called Head Kick, and just let me know in the comments that you applied. We'll get you in. That's it. I'm done rambling. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you, and I'll see ya tomorrow.